Welcome everyone to part 6 of my Wrestlemania MVP LVP series, where I take a look at all the Wrestlemanias throughout history and determine who is the most valuable player and the least valuable player of each and every single Wrestlemania to date. And today we've got 3 Wrestlemanias lined up. It'll be Wrestlemanias 10, Wrestlemania 11, and Wrestlemania 22, one that I have talked about way too many fucking times on this channel, but we're gonna do it again. Anyway, let's get started with the Wrestlemania 10. As I've mentioned in previous videos, Wrestlemania 10 is one that's special to me because it fell on my 9th birthday. Wrestlemania and I are kind of so weirdly linked in a way. It feels like Wrestlemania is always within 2 weeks of my birthday. March 20th, 1985 was the day I was born, and then Wrestlemania was, March 31st, I believe, 1985, just so not long after. And Wrestlemania is just always... it's always somewhat close to my birthday. WrestleMania 18 fell on St. Patrick's Day. I'm surprised they didn't make a bigger deal out of that. But this 1 year, it fell on my birthday, which at 9 years old was like, you know, for a 9-year-old wrestling fan, that's like a second Christmas almost. It was like, yay! And WWE, Vince McMahon, you know, I can be hard on them sometimes, but they gave me a pretty good Christmas present. So, who's the most valuable player from this show? Well, it's easy to point to the ladder match, because the ladder match really is what this show is known for. The performance of Shawn Michaels really helped put him on the map as one of the all-time greats, or really the starting point of establishing him as one of the all-time greats. And Razor Ramon, who, you know, people say that Shawn went out there and had a match with a ladder. I don't think that's fair. I think Scott Hall was a very solid talent, a very good worker, and I think he held up his end of the bargain in this match. It's still to this day my favorite ladder match of all time. You can add all the crazy spots, and you can add, 14 different ladders and tables and chairs and all that other stuff, but nothing beats the basic simplicity of the story they told and how just expertly they executed it. And actually, when I think of my favorite ladder matches throughout history, it's always the ones that have that, like, kind of... I don't want to say psychology, but that kind of element to it that makes everything matter, like the DIY versus Authors of Pain ladder match. I love that match because you had the Tommaso Ciampa heel turn, which was fueled in part by Johnny Gargano taking a ladder shot for him earlier in the match. Things like that. Those are the type of things I remember. Big spots and guys jumping off of ladders. I feel like I see it 18 times a year, so it's just not that big of a deal anymore. Jericho and Michaels in 08, I thought they had a tremendous ladder match. Jericho and Benoit in 01, I thought they had a tremendous ladder match. But this one is still holds up as my personal favorite. So it'd be easy to give MVP to one of those guys. Owen Hart also had his kind of coming out party, getting a big win over Bret Hart in the opening match, culminating their... everything that had been built up from Survivor Series the year before onward, and Owen feeling like he'd been held back by Bret and left in the shadows. And in this match, he jumped out of the shadows, defeated Bret Hart cleanly, and won the match. Huge win for Owen that really set him up as one of the top stars for the next few years, and continued the feud with Bret heading into SummerSlam, where they had that excellent cage match for the WWF title that should have closed the pay-per-view but didn't. But and you know, there was Owen winning the King of the Ring tournament in between as well. How much does this guy weigh? But yeah, Owen would be a good one to pick, but I think for this I'm gonna go with Bret Hart as my MVP for the show, because at the time, keep in mind, I was 9 years old. This was my birthday present. Bret Hart was my favorite wrestler at this point in time. So to see my favorite wrestler have an amazing match with Owen, even though he lost, and then go on later in the show and defeat Yokozuna to win the title, avenging the loss from WrestleMania 9, that was quite a birthday present for me. So I was like, oh my god, and he did it in MSG with a big, massive celebration with all the baby faces, Roddy Piper and Randy Savage giving him props. It was awesome. It was awesome. And for me, it was like, oh, my guy's the champion. They did it in glorious fashion. I love it. I love it. So, you know, WrestleMania 10, yes, it's remembered for the ladder match, but I'll always think back to being 9 years old and just being so happy to see Bret Hart hold up the belt And to, realize when I saw Owen standing up on the stage, it's like, oh my God, Owen's got a legit shot at the title because he beat Bret earlier the night. Because, back then this shit used to make sense. So, so yeah, I'm going to go with Bret Hart as the most valuable player of WrestleMania 10. This was to Bret Hart what WrestleMania 4 was to Randy Savage. It was just his night in the sun. Or what WrestleMania 30 was for Daniel Bryan. It was his night in the sun. And, I got one awesome match out of it and a pretty solid main event with a more than satisfying conclusion. So I was really happy with it. Least valuable player. I thought about giving it to Lex Luger because he was kind of the forgotten one in the whole championship situation. You had Yokozuna, who was the monster heel, and Luger, who was pursuing Yokozuna all the way from the summer onward. So this was going to be the culmination of that story as well. And he ultimately had kind of a weak match with Yoko. It felt like Yoko was saving his energy for the main event, the closing match, and maybe having Yoko work twice was probably pushing his abilities a little too much. But Yokozuna ultimately won by DQ thanks to Mr. Perfect, the special guest referee, disqualifying Luger in a really cheap way, which I thought was going to lead to a feud and was going to play off of WrestleMania 9 the year before, where Luger knocked out Perfect and did all of that stuff and cheated to beat him, and I thought that was Perfect's way of getting revenge for that. But Perfect was gone almost immediately afterwards, so it was kind of like, well, what was the point of that then? But I will give Luger some credit. Him, that must have been a tough pill to swallow. It's like, all right, you're going to win the title at Mania. You're going to win the title at Mania. Oh, yeah, we're going to pull back and we're going to give it to Bret. That must have been a tough pill for him to swallow, because I don't think Luger was a train wreck, like, as a babyface champion. I didn't think he was awful. I preferred him as a heel. I think the Narcissist was a much better fit for him, but I thought he did, in that, Hogan light role that they put him in, I thought he did okay. I thought the match with Yoko at SummerSlam the year before was good, except for the stupid finish. And that must have been a tough pill to swallow, and he did it. He did his job. He, did the co-win of the Royal Rumble and did well in that spot. And then when it came time to put Yoko over, he did it. And, let Bret have the spotlight. So it's like, okay, I mean, we can give Luger props for that, even though the match he was in wasn't very good and he was kind of swept under the rug. But speaking of being swept under the rug, I'm going to give co-LVPs to 10 men. The 10 men that were supposed to perform at WrestleMania and ultimately got pulled off the card. There was supposed to be a 10-man tag. I believe, if I've got this right, my memory serves me correctly, it was supposed to be 1-2-3 Kid, Bob Sparkplug Holly, the Smoking Guns, and Tatanka taking on Jeff Jarrett, IRS, Rick Martel, and the Head Shrinkers in a 10-man tag, which was basically just going to be a filler match and an excuse to cram guys onto the show. Now, it's not uncommon for matches to get bumped off the WrestleMania card. I think back to 29 when it was supposed to be a mixed tag, like Cody and Sandow taking on, and they were teaming with somebody, I think the Bellas, and they were going to take on, I think, Lord Tensai when he was doing a, stupid dance gimmick number 2, and the Funkasaurus and the Funkadactyls in like this intergender 8-person tag, and that match didn't happen. It got dropped from the show. WrestleMania 8, I remember, this is a funny memory from WrestleMania 8. I remember the show was over, and I looked at my brother, who I was watching the show with. Keep in mind, we had just seen Randy Savage and Ric Flair have this amazing match where Savage won the title. We had just seen Piper and Bret have this amazing match where Bret won back the IC title. Watched Undertaker go over Jake and really firmly establish him as the babyface superstar that he would ultimately become. And I watched Ultimate Warrior return in the main event and help Hogan. You would think that would be enough, but the first thing I said when the show faded to black, I turned to my brother and was like, they didn't do the Berserker Bulldog match. They advertised that match. What happened to that match? And I think I was the only human being that actually cared that the British Bulldog versus Berserker match did not happen at WrestleMania 8. But, yeah, this one, I think what set this one apart from the rest was they actually filmed a segment to explain why the match wasn't taking place, which is the heels argued over who the team captain was, and because they couldn't agree who the team captain was, the match had to be canceled. Like, that is kind of a weak excuse. I remember it. They showed that segment. It was Jarrett, IRS, Martel and the Head Shrinkers, and they were arguing over who got to be the team captain. They couldn't agree, and because they couldn't agree, the match was... I'm sorry, that's just my computer going off. Because of that, the match had to be canceled. And I'm like, that's really kind of weak. Now, the real explanation, or at least what's been the rumored explanation, I should say, according to Bob Holly in his book, they were supposed to go on right after the ladder match, and the ladder match went wrong, didn't go wrong, it went long, and Michaels and Razor were ignoring the referee telling them to take it home, and apparently the referee was getting messages in his earpieces like, tell him to take it home, tell him to take it home. And apparently Razor and Michaels ignored them. Now, granted, the ladder match itself was incredible, and I'm not upset that that match went long, but I do kind of feel bad for the 10 guys that lost a Mania spot. Hopefully they didn't lose their Mania pay. I would certainly hope that didn't happen, but it kind of sucks that 10 guys lost their Mania spot. But it is what it is. I feel bad for them, but yeah, least valuable players on the show were the 10 guys that were supposed to perform at WrestleMania and did not. It's a shame, and some of those were really talented guys. They probably could have put together a nice, solid little filler match there, but again, what can you do? So, moving on to WrestleMania 11. Now, to show you how hard it was to pick out an MVP for this show, here are some of the runner-ups. Pamela Anderson and Jenny McCarthy. If for no other reason, they looked outstanding in those dresses, and yes, they were low cut. It's like their busts looked incredible. Major highlight of the show. Didn't care much for the title match that they were a part of, but they looked great as far as celebrity guests go. And yeah, they were runner-ups for MVP. The other runner-up I had was the theme music for the Allied Powers. Not the Allied Powers themselves, not Lex Luger and the British Bulldog. No. The theme music they used was so cool, and if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it, because that theme music is fucking awesome. I considered giving a theme song the MVP of a WrestleMania. That's how low we were digging here. I hate this WrestleMania. I think it's easily the worst WrestleMania ever made. Anybody wants to throw 9 at me, or 13, or 15, or 16, or what are some of the other bad ones? People shit on 25. People are down on 29. 27 gets a lot of flack. Dude, I can come up with nice things to say about any of those WrestleManias I just listed. 11, I have to struggle to find anything nice to say, because this show was just abysmal. Abysmal. Almost from start. Actually, yeah, I would even say abysmal, literally from start to finish, because even like the friggin' national anthem went wrong because of all the production issues. But I'm going to go ahead and give MVP to the Beast from the East, Bam Bam Bigelow, who went out there working with Lawrence Taylor, a non-wrestler, and because he was able to carry that match, it was way better than it had any right to be. I'm not saying it's a great match. I'm not saying it's one of my favorite matches in WrestleMania history. I'm not saying it's even a good match, or I'm not even trying to defend that it should have closed, although I would argue that the Diesel-Shawn match wasn't exactly the cat's pajamas either, so it's like, alright, which match should have closed? It's like, doesn't matter. They both kind of sucked, but I think Bam Bam Bigelow made that match better than it had any right to be, and being in that spot where he has to put over a football player in the main event of WrestleMania, I thought he at least performed very, very well and made that match worth more than it had any right to be worth, outside of like the circus tent appeal of it. That's really all there is to say. I think Bam Bam deserves a lot of credit for helping with the build-up of that match, and then when it came match time, I think he actually carried it and made it a little bit better than it had any right to be. So just for that, I'm going to give MVP to Bam Bam Bigelow. May he rest in peace. Very underrated worker. I always thought Bam Bam was a really solid worker and didn't always get a lot of credit, but at least he has a WrestleMania main event under his belt. Probably not the best situation that you would want to have a WrestleMania main event under your belt, but sometimes you take him where you can get him. Now, who gets least valuable player on this dog shit show? Oh, man. Well, again, to illustrate how bad this WrestleMania is, There actually exists a WrestleMania where Bret Hart is on the card, Shawn Michaels is on the card, Undertaker's on the card. They are all in, maybe not their primes, but near peak physical condition and very, very solid workers at this point in their careers. All three of them bombed at WrestleMania. In my opinion, all three of them bombed. You had the I Quit match between Bret and Bob Backlund, which was a disaster and fell way short of what it could have been and what it should have been. You had the title match between Diesel and Diesel and Michaels, which I've already said should have been the best match on the show, and it wasn't. It was a very sloppy match. The crowd turned on Diesel. The finish was blown. It just didn't work. I'm not saying it's one of the worst WrestleMania title matches, but it's one that fell way short of where it needed to be, especially given the build-up that it had received. Actually, if I was going to assign match of the night to anything, it would be Razor versus Jeff Jarrett. And I'm not a huge fan of their matches because they just went out there and had the same fucking match every single time they worked with each other. And this one had a DQ finish, so it's like, oh, goddamn. But that was probably match of the night on this show. Again, this is what I'm working with here, people. And then you had Undertaker versus Bundy, which was just terrible. And again, had a botched finish. So this show was just a fucking train wreck. Like almost nothing went right. The Blue Brothers went out there in the opening match and they didn't look great. And I don't hate the Harris Brothers. I think they're a solid big man team, but the crowd wasn't familiar with them and their whole act just didn't really get over in the opener. And then you had the production gaffes, which happened throughout the night. You know, mics were cutting out backstage during promos. I already mentioned the national anthem. There were audio problems. It was just the whole thing. The whole night was just plagued with production issues. From a company that normally isn't known for being plagued with production issues, and for it to happen at WrestleMania of all places, it's like, shit. This ain't good. This ain't good at all. But if I'm going to assign a least valuable player for WrestleMania 11, I'm going to give it, and I hate to do it, I'm going to give it to Roddy Piper. He was the special guest referee of the I Quit match between Bret Hart and Bob Backlund. And I've already mentioned that match should have been, honestly could have been the match of the night if everything had gone well. Instead, we just got a very, very awkward and terrible match. Part of what made the match awkward and terrible was Roddy Piper as the referee constantly screaming into the microphone, "What do you say? What do you say?" And jamming it into the wrestlers' faces whenever they were in a hold. And I'm like, oh my god. It got really annoying really fast. And it's one of those things where it's like, you don't have to yell into the microphone. You can just stick it in their face. I know it's Roddy Piper, and Piper demands a lot of attention just by his mere presence. When Piper's in the ring, you expect him to do something because it's fucking Piper. But you didn't have to scream into the microphone every 5 minutes. It got very annoying very quick. And Bret even talked about that in his book. Bret called that in his book the worst pay-per-view match of his career. I would also like to point out that match took place before the match with Vince at 26. So I think we have a new contender there. But in any case, I hate to do it, but I'm going to give least valuable player to Roddy Piper. An all-time great in this business, should have been world champion during the 80s. WrestleMania 11 was not a good night for him, unfortunately. And then let's wrap this video up with the most valuable player and least valuable player of WrestleMania 22. One that I am sick to fucking death of talking about, because you know exactly where I'm going to go with this. If you watch my channel for any length of time, you know exactly where I'm going to go with this. I shouldn't even have it on here. I shouldn't even say. I should just say go back and watch other WrestleMania videos I've done. You know exactly what I'm going to say, but fuck it. Here goes. Okay, MVP, Edge. Edge is going to get the MVP. He should have been the main event of this show. He should have gone into this show as the champion, the defending Rated R Superstar champion. Didn't happen. Got the carpet yanked out from under him because of reasons. And he went out there, stole the show with a over-the-hill retired Mick Foley in a hardcore match where they absolutely put on quite the spectacle. Again, I thought they stole the show. Edge proved that night. It's like, oh, hey, maybe you should have put me in the main event, motherfuckers. Ha, 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 Shawn Michaels had a really good performance on this show as well, and the match with Vince was a lot of fun, and Vince performed well in that match. I thought Mick Foley, even though I just knocked him calling him a retired over the hill, I thought doing some of the shit that he did in that match was insane, and good on him for really giving Edge a rub that he didn't need. To me, Edge should have already been top guy, and him... The fact that they felt like he needed a rub from Foley at that point is just insane to me, but Foley did his best to make Edge look like $1 million, and good on him for it. And Mickie James, I thought, had a really strong performance on this show in her match, and fuck Vince for getting mad at her for doing the V-Lick and cutting that out of all like the DVDs and on the network and stuff, because that was awesome and totally within character. This lesbian stalker fan gimmick that she had conceived, because apparently the whole angle was Mickey's idea, between her and Trish Stratus was amazing, very well done, and in my opinion, it was by far the best built-up match for this WrestleMania. And I thought she performed it beautifully, and the crowd totally dug her, and it was great. And the V-Lick was awesome. Shut up, Vince, you prude. Yeah, on the same show where he pulls his pants down and has his son's face rammed in his ass. Yeah, we're gonna get on Mickie James' case for the V-Lick, and that's too dirty, and that's too risque. It's like, come on, grow up. They weren't even PG at this point. It's like, come on, man, stop being an ass. Stop showing your ass. Anyway, so Edge gets most valuable player, though. Now, who's going to get least valuable? Who do you think I'm going to give least valuable player to? Just take a guess. Take a wild guess. I could give it to the Boogeyman, who I was awfully perplexed that he got a spot on this card and Eminem did not, even though Eminem was one of the most over acts in the company throughout the year in between WrestleManias 21 and 22. Eminem had come on very, very strong. I thought for sure they would get a Mania spot. I guess the heat on Melina was really, really strong at that point to prevent that from happening. But that's really just a personal preference thing. It's like Boogeyman went out there, had a filler match, and did what he was told to do. It's like I can't really fault him too much for that. John Cena, who got absolute nuclear heat, even though he was supposed to be the top babyface. This was the first year of Cena like being the top guy, and the fans had like completely turned on him. Like I was there at SummerSlam 05, which was the first time that a crowd really turned on Cena during a Cena match. I know at ECW One Night Stand there was the "fuck you Cena" chants in the opening match, but Cena wasn't on that show, so they didn't really turn on him. That was just ECW fans telling WWE to go fuck themselves, even though WWE was putting on an ECW show. And by SummerSlam, though, like, that crowd was split even. For all intents and purposes, let's say it was even. And it only got worse from there. To the point that you get to the Elimination Chamber match in New Year's Revolution, and the crowd is literally chanting for Chris Masters over John Cena. That's how bad it got. And I was like, man. And it didn't help at this show either. The fans fucking hated him. That entrance was stupid too, so that didn't help, even though it was the WWE debut of CM Punk. What a way to start. I mean, hey, I guess if DDP can be the pink Cadillac driver for the Honky Tonk Man at WrestleMania 6, CM Punk can be a gangster, because John Cena was a gangsta, so show was in Chicago, so we got to switch that to gangsters, because okay. Yeah, and then he went out there in a match where he was completely hated, in a match that I personally did not enjoy at all whatsoever. I fucking hate that match. I hate that match. I hate that match. I hate that match. I've talked about it so many goddamn times. I don't even know what else to say. But I am not giving John Cena the least valuable player. I am going to give it to my favorite wrestler of all time, the one that just always performs so well at WrestleMania and just always proves how worthy he is of those main event spots. Triple H, the Game, who also had a stupid entrance by coming out dressed as Conan the Barbarian. And that's the same. The video was cool, the music was cool, and then you saw him in that outfit, and I'm like, nope, right down the tubes. But Triple H, and this is where, like, the people that complain that Triple H has too much power and when he books himself it creates too many problems, he puts himself over. It's shit like this that people are talking about, where you have this heel in Edge, red fucking hot, never got his comeuppance, stole the title, the first ever Money in the Bank cash-in, did the live sex celebration the next night on Raw, which got a huge rating and got a huge reaction, and Edge is just on top of the world. He's got all the heat in the world. He's doing fucking great. He's the most interesting character on the program. He needs to go into WrestleMania as the defending heel champion. If you want to have Cena win the belt back at Mania, fine, I'll go with you. It's like, all right, we'll compromise. It's all right, you want to put the belt back on Cena? That's fine. Do it at WrestleMania. But because Triple H is not willing to give up that spot, and I referenced Lex Luger earlier, who quite graciously allowed... It's like, all right, you want to de-push me and put Bret Hart in that spot? That's fine. It's like, Bret's more over than me. That can't be disputed. I don't think the fans hated Luger, but Bret was clearly more over, and they went with the guy who was more over. And I've never heard Luger really complain about that. Here we have another situation where it's like, all right, I think, Triple H, you spent most of 05 putting over Batista and trading wins with an over-the-hill Ric Flair. You're kind of on the downturn, and it's like Edge, meanwhile, won the feud with Kane, won the feud with Hardy, won his feud with Flair, and overall it's like, and did all these other things, stole the title, beat Cena, and all that other stuff. He's on top of the world. He's got all the heat. I think Edge is the guy to go with right now. But because Triple H has authority within the company and can book himself, the plans cannot be changed. Triple H needs to be in that spot. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how the fans are reacting. It doesn't matter what the numbers say. Triple H needs to be in that spot. And it's like, fucking hell. And I've had people argue me. It's like, oh, Edge wasn't ready yet. And, oh, Edge isn't as talented a worker as Triple H. I'm like, okay, first of all, the amount of talent is immaterial here. I'm talking about who's the most interesting character. It's like the same thing I said about Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns last night when I did my Elimination Chamber review. It's like, look, you go with whoever is the hot hand. You go with whoever's the most interesting. Edge, at that point in time, was the most interesting and should have gone into WrestleMania as the defending champion. I'm sorry, and I'll fight that till my dying day. Even if you want to make it a three-way, I was like, okay, make it a three-way then, with Edge as the defending champion. Put Triple H and Cena in there in a three-way, which they did the next pay-per-view at Backlash, but no, it's just they had their plan, and Triple H is the one that cannot be changed. If he's going to go into Mania as the champion or in the main event, that's how it's going to be. Okay, sure. And I loved how in the build-up they tried to paint Cena as like the underdog. It's like, motherfucker, he's been practically undefeated all year since he won the thing. The only significant loss he had was against Edge, and that was a Money in the Bank cash-in. And he avenged that loss like immediately. And Triple H has like been losing to Batista and trading wins with Flair and doing other stuff. It's like, all right, so who's the underdog here? Who looks unprepared for WrestleMania? Who's on the hot streak? I would think Cena's like up here and Triple H is kind of like, yeah, down, yeah. You're the one fighting it from underhill, buddy, based on how your previous years went. But, that would be like if the New England Patriots went 8-8 and like bumblefucked their way into the playoffs and then got into the Super Bowl and they were playing like a 15-1 team. And you would still pick the Patriots to win. It's like, but what the fuck? And then in the playoffs, they win these close, tight games by like 3 points, and the 15-1 team like dominate everybody, and you still pick the New England Patriots, which is like, okay, it's a Super Bowl. You play the games for a reason. The Patriots could still just as easily win. I mean, anything can happen in any given game. But based on how their seasons went, I'm probably going to pick the other team in the Super Bowl. But that's kind of what the situation was like to me, where it's like, I'm pretty sure Cena's the dominant one here, not Triple H. But in any case, Triple H just being in the main event at all pissed me off. And the fact that the match was as drab and stupid as it was. That was the match that gave birth to the trading boo yay punches, which I really don't like. It looks so, like, staged and hokey to me. But in any case, I've complained about this match enough. Join me next year where I find some other way to talk about WrestleMania 22 and how much I fucking hated its main event. And also tune in next year as I throw Triple H under the bus for whatever Mania failure he's had throughout the years. But yeah, that concludes part 6 of the series. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I'm going to have the remaining 5 parts of the series posted in the month of March, which is coming about in just a couple more days. So I'm going to get that knocked out. But I've got that and a bunch of other videos lined up for you. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit the little bell button so you get all the notifications for my next videos. But that is all I have for you now. So y'all enjoy your week and peace out.